Evening all. First time back in the workshop for a couple of weeks. We've got behind. I've had a touch of cold which has delayed us. So we're going to get on with stripping the axle. This is the Foden worm drive axle, developed for the S80 range really, known as the high speed axle. It's double hub reduction, and that's obviously to reduce the stresses on the drive line while still giving a reasonable road speed. Without doubt, the last major incarnation of the worm drive setup. Foden used this worm drive setup for many years. They describe it as an overhead worm shaft, which is high tensile steel, driving a phosphor bronze worm gear with an internal differential. Lots of manufacturers have used worm gear over the years. It has some disadvantages over pinion, but it also has some advantages. The disadvantages, I would imagine, are around a larger contact surface, which obviously generates more heat within the differential, which is never a good thing, obviously. I would imagine that the fact that, if you think about it, with a pinion, crown and pinion, the wheels will turn the pinion regardless of the differential, whereas with a worm gear and shaft, the wheels wouldn't turn the worm gear to turn the shaft, and that's obviously going to have some effects on fuel efficiency even though it's running through a differential. One of the problems the operators experienced with this axle was if you got tyres on that were on either end, you know, a set of tyres on this end that would say, I don't know, 6mm, and a set of tyres on the other end that would say 10mm, you would get a wind up in the diff. And I know from back in the day that was a problem, and matching tyres was quite critical. We've got some pictures of the axle within the parts manual. We're going to get onto them in a bit, but first job is we're going to get the bungs out at the end, get this up draining. Let's get this off. We've got, you know, a lot of stuff to get through on this axle. It's you know, it's a bigger job than restoring a stationary engine really, with the hubs to pull, with the back plates to repair. The mounting brackets have got broken bolts in them where they've mounted the back plates themselves. We've got to lift the actual differential out. The housing is leaking, so we're going to make some sort of pressure test rig there to blow some pressure into the axle to work out where his leak is. We're obviously going to get the springs off so we can get them cleaned up. Lots and lots to do. First job is to get these bungs out. For that I've got a 5/8 of an inch male square. Difficult to get hold of, bought it specially for this job, and I ended up buying it from Impact Sockets up at I think the Burnley or Chorley, but it came overnight, spot on. Unfortunately in the past, the size of tool they've been using is the 1/2 inch chisel by the look of it, so they're quite gnarled up, but hopefully we'll be able to clean them up. In a true spirit of head china, I've given these a bit of a slackening off so we're not chasing the axle all around the workshop. So as you can see, that's come out dead easy. And it should be full of, I hope it's going to be full of worm gear oil. It's going to be slow running because obviously it's pretty cold. I've checked the thermostat earlier, it's about 4 degrees. Oh, we're getting a slight run out there. So we'll get this end cap off. These are 1/2 inch, well, 1/2 inch heads. These are 5/16 UNF with a 1/2 inch AF bolt head. So cast steel plate. Weight in it, doesn't look like it's been chewed up at any point. Right, great stuff. So we've got the cap off. I'm going to swap sockets now. We'll get these 3/4 off. These 3/4 nuts off. And see if we can take this end cover off. And that's all the 1/2 inch UNF nuts off now. So I'm going to give it a tap with the dead blow hammer. There are a couple of drawing studs, we may need to use them. Yeah, we do. Right, so it's pretty evident we're pretty blocked up in there. We've got 2 to go at. Just taking gentle bites out of it because we've got a lot of paint and rust in there. Yeah, it's blocking the flutes up straight away. Make all the difference, this will. Right, just get an 1/2 inch bolt and we'll just pop that off. That's pulled nicely. It's definitely been off before, there's white silicone in here. So this obviously gives us a really good view of the epicyclic now and the bearing. Grease looks really clean. Okay, so we're at the stage now where we can pull the half shaft out. Didn't expect any great shakes with that because obviously it's all floating in oil and it should all be pretty good. Sat that back in its bearing cap for now, and that obviously gets us to the actual hub reduction planet gears. See if we can get these to pop out for us. There we go, catching everything nice and gently. Right, we've got some light into the hub reduction assembly now. You can see this is the axle lock nut. The next big job is to get that Allen key out, slacken the nut off, and then the hub should come out. On the plus side, the oil's pretty clean. The hub runs smoothly. If we look up the middle, I'm not sure you can see that, we can't see any debris up there. We may have to make a tool for adjusting this later, but for now we're just going to rely on the brute force of this driver. Okay. Got some nice flotation there. So we'll step back a bit and lift the hub. So we're pulling the bearing and the gear here. So bearings in lovely order, gear oil itself is lovely, the gear itself is lovely too. Put that there for easy stacking. Just going to let that drain some oil out for a minute. Right, let's see if we can get him off. He's not too heavy. Oh no. That was a disaster, wasn't it? There we go. Right, we're on to the offside hub now. That one's the near side, this one's the offside. Axle points forward. Very much a repeat of that side. Just want to get it pulled to bits. Let's see if we find anything interesting. Pull everything off. This is the side with the fully floating back plate because the bolts in that bracket have all been sheared. So let's get to it. I've taken the bungs out, so she's been draining for quite a while. Good amount of oil come out of it, and hopefully all should go well. I don't know if you can see here, but somebody's put in a 1/2 inch bolt. If I spin the other way, you can see that it lines up with the drawing bolt for the other side. So I'm hoping, I have actually tapped that one out, so I'm hoping that that is just in there to keep the threads clean, to act as a drawing tool. You'll also notice she's lagged up a white silicone sealer, so obviously somebody's already been in there and hopefully they've elected to put a bolt in there to preserve the thread for the drawing, and they have. Yeah. So they've cut a bolt down, put some silicone sealer on the end purely and simply to preserve that, so we can use it to draw the housing off. Brilliant. Lovely. It's come out well. So again, all of this is nice and super clean. Half shafts come out lovely. Right, got the gear set out. Right, let's get the grub screw out. 5:30 this. Doesn't feel great. Oh, she's turning. Right, okay, we could just do a bit of good fortune pushing the adjuster nut round, locking nut, axle nut, she's coming, look. It's a bit tighter than the other side, has to be said. Oh, definitely tighter than the other side. Yeah, she's coming now. Got some chattering on that, it's obviously been moving. Again, that's come out well, the bearing looks really good. Not worried about the hub seal, so I'm going to let that drain a little while. Right, we're on to a minimum size dribble now. Seal track's got a slight score on it. Brake cam again has got nothing on it lift wise. Right, so a good evening's work there. I'm glad to have got all that down in one go and taken the battle on really. I didn't really want to spread that over 2 nights. So which taken us aside, and it's taken us one evening aside, about 2 hours aside, to get it down, which I don't think is too bad after 40 odd years. Lots to work with there. Well, the parts are certainly piling up now. Obviously this is the one we've just pulled off. We've got the slack adjuster on there to get at. This additional plate here is, you know, probably a halfway house for Foden. That is for an interlock type brake chamber. I suppose at some point when this was just using a transmission brake, a service type chamber would have mounted on them other 2 holes, so they had to make that adapter plate, an indication really of, I suppose, making do. If this was a 39, an S39 rather than S80, this cone would be removed and a transmission brake would be fitted there. But yeah, all in all, pretty good really. You know, we've got that both hubs down, got them covered up now for a bit of protection. Want to get through the amount of gear we've got on the floor now, with 2 hubs to clean out and process, with hub seals to get, with obviously a few gaskets and bits and bobs to make, a load of wheel studs to clean up, all that gear down there to work his way through, bearings to wash. I think all of these bearings are going to survive. They're in really good order, so I'm pleased with that. We'll probably do a dry build of the shaft and gear and the hub just on the floor, really, just to have a look at it before we reassemble at some point. Yeah, but overall really good. So a good place to stop this instalment. I'm not sure what the next instalment will be. It'll obviously be something to do with the axle. It's not going to be pulling the diff out, I can tell you that. It will either be cleaning up these gears and sorting out what we've got there, or repairing the back plates, because we will have to repair them back plates. We're not going to buy any, are we? And obviously getting stuff ready for paint. A lot of stuff to get ready for paint here. The springs are going to be a real treat when we get to doing them, I'm sure. But anyway, that's this instalment over. Let's see what next time brings.